Hello. What do you think about the election result in Hungary? 52% for Orban. You don't talk about the most fantastic outcome of this election. 10% for momentum and 2 seats. Nobody has told that. No?
What I really like is the fact that in this election, more Europeans took part than in the previous election. That's a great, great signal for European democracy. That's what I just said.
But it's working, no?
How is your reaction so far? The Social Democrats were having a weak result. What's your point on that?
Am I now talking to the press?
No, we're doing a press conference now, so
okay.
We'll take some questions.
Just a short statement. Is this a disappointing result for you tonight?
Well, we always knew it was going to be a tough election, and I think it is clear that we're going to have negotiation to make sure we have a majority in this parliament that's fully European. That puts the fight against the climate crisis, the fight against social injustice in the first place. And let's see how far we can get with that.
Who do you want to work with?
We'll take questions in a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
On est sous instance, on est bon. Well, you know, probably.
Ce lo dobbiamo preparare, mi prendi questo materiale?
But you don't see election. There, choose here. The light is allowed to see them.
So, sorry for this delay, ladies and gentlemen. All the poll stations across the European Union are officially closed since 11 p.m. As I have already mentioned, the preliminary turnout estimates are very positive. Our estimates now show for the whole European Union, 28 member states, including the United Kingdom, that 50.5% of voters across the Union turn out to vote. This is 8 points higher than in 2014, when turnout had stabilized for the first time. Again, these figures are the highest of the past 20 years and represent the first significant increase in turnout since the first elections in 1979. This is in some way which shows that the European citizens realize that the European Union is part of their everyday reality and their future. This time they voted. And ladies and gentlemen, this concludes this unique transnational democratic exercise. We are now able to update our seat projections based on a mix of final results, provisional results, and in a few cases, exit polls and estimates. And I'm going to read out these results that, of course, will be updated also in the next minutes and hours. European People's Party, 178. 178. Socialists and Democrats, 152. 152. European Conservative and Reformists, 61. 61. Alliance of Liberals and Democrats plus 3 national parties, 108. 108. The United Left, Nordic Green Left, 39. 39. Greens, European Free Alliance, 67. 67 seats. Europe for Freedom and Direct Democracy, EFDD, 53. 53. Europe of Nations and Freedom, 55. 55 seats. Non-attached members, 7. Others, 31. Ladies and gentlemen, the citizens of the European Union have chosen who will represent them in the European Parliament. This will have a direct impact on who will head the European Commission over the next legislative term, as members of Parliament will be those who will take the decision in Strasbourg in July. I would therefore like to invite the candidates for the presidency of the European Commission to make a short reaction to these preliminary results, followed, of course, by a few questions. And starting from the European People's Party candidate, Manfred Weber.
So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, the most important outcome of today's, or the last 4 election days, is for me that the European democracy is alive. We have a turnout of about more than 50%, and that is a great victory for the European democracy. People voted, people decided about the future of our continent, and that is great. I want to thank all my friends who also run in the European elections, the competitors from the Socialists, Franz Timmermans, from the Greens, Ska Keller, Bas Eickhout, from all the other political families who had Spitzenkandidaten. I think we showed a fair and a democratic competition, and that brought again this idea of a European democracy alive. You know that I myself, I fought and fight for a European Parliament which is the center of the European political development, where we decide in the European Parliament about the main lines for the future of Europe, and that idea is today strongly strengthened. The second element, the second outcome is we are facing a shrinking center of the European Parliament, the center of those parties who believe in the future of Europe, who wants to strengthen Europe, who wants to have an ambitious approach for the future of Europe. That is what we are facing, a shrinking center. For the EPP, today's feeling is not a feeling of, first of all, of victory, because we are losing seats. What we can say is that we are happy to be again the first group in the European Parliament, to be the biggest group, to be in the first row. That is what we are happy about, but again, we also see that we lose seats. I promised in the European election campaign, I promised stability. When you vote for, if you vote for an EPP party on European level, you will get finally a group who is ready to create stability. And having this in mind, I see a few, let me say, steps ahead of us. One element is that I want to clarify that for the EPP, for the European People's Party, there is no chance for any cooperation, no will, no readiness for any cooperation with extremists from the left and from the right. I said this during the campaign several times. For us, I can really say there will be no cooperation with any party who don't believe in the European spirit and the future project of the European Union. A second element for this stability is that we want to invite to talk now about the content, about the mandate for the next 5 years. What people have told us during the campaign must now be included in a mandate for the future project of the European Union for the next 5 years on European level. For us, it's also clear that we stick to the idea of Spitzenkandidaten. There will be no support for any other candidate than a candidate who presented his program, his profile and his personality before the people went to vote. And when we speak about stability, then there is no majority, no stable majority against the EPP possible. And having in mind that the EPP is today the strongest group, obviously when we look to the figures, let's see about the final outcome then, we have also a leading function in this. And finally, to give you an idea what are the next steps now from our point of view, the first step is that in the next upcoming days, the European Parliament should again confirm that we stick to the Spitzenkandidat concept. EPP is ready to do so. I hope others will also follow. And the second is that we create the mandate among the pro-European parties, the content, the projects for the future. And these projects can be finally also discussed with the Council. You know that the Council is discussing about strategic guidelines for the future. And I hope that we can combine the mandate of the European Parliament together with the strategic guidelines of the Council to bring it together, to merge them and to have a proper idea for what is now to do for the next 5 years on European level. So for me the most important message is stop crisis times, stop crisis thinking in Europe, and let's start with an optimistic perspective for a Europe which can show to the citizens we can achieve so much together if we work together. And secondly, start a Europe of people. I want to start a Commission of the people. That is what we as EPP fought for, and we have a mandate for this.
Thank you. We'll have time for some questions now. Financial Times, Marine?
Marine Khan from the Financial Times. Mr. Weber, given that the Liberals and Guy Verhofstadt have been the most vocal opponents of the Spitzenkandidat system, and including the French President, tonight's numbers show that you could have a majority, a stable alliance that doesn't include ALDE, the Liberals or En Marche. Are you willing to entertain the idea of having a tripartite coalition without the Liberals?
When I look to the figures, then I don't see a majority against Liberals, I don't see a majority against Socialists, I don't see a majority against the EPP. So what I would ask us to do is to join our forces, to work together from now on. Those again who believe in the spirit of an ambitious Europe, of a Europe of projects, of a Europe which can show to the people that it is in their interest to have a strong European Union, those politicians must work together from now on. We showed people alternatives during the campaign. That is a normal thing, that is a good thing, that is a healthy thing in a democracy. But from now on, those who want to have a strong European Union has to join their forces. And that is again my invitation to the Socialists, Liberals and also to the Greens, because having the figures in mind, the Greens are also the winners of the day. That's why again the Greens are possible partners. I think we should sit together and should define now the mandate for the next 5 years.
Ruud, Telegraaf.
Mr. Weber, your political group remains the biggest one, but you also lose a lot of seats. What's your message to the leaders in the Council, and does this weaken your chances for the top job in the European Commission?
Well, when you refer to the outcome of my party, my biggest message is first of all that I want to thank those who voted for us. A lot of people in the European Union voted for us, and that is what I have in mind. And again, what we will divide is this democratization, this parliamentarization of the European Union. When people take it serious, the European elections, then the leaders should also take it serious, what happened today. That is what I am asking for. And having these democratic principles in mind, I think those who will finally have to join together, have to find a common understanding for the future, those parties have to respect who is number one, who is number two, who is number three, in the question who has finally the leading role. Again, for us, I don't feel a real powerful victory today. I can only say that I am happy that we arrive as the strongest political family. That is a big achievement. That was our main goal when we started our campaign, to arrive again as a group who can ask for the right to lead. But we are open for all the other contributions. We are open for content, and we are open for other contributions when it is about the distribution of the posts on European level.
Last one, Christoph. Pap.
Thank you. Christopher Strzemka, Polish Press Agency. The question about the Hungary's Fidesz. Did you have an opportunity to talk with Mr. Viktor Orban, or are you going to talk with him? Because without him, the leader's position might change, taking into account the socialists may be joined by Wiosna from Poland and Syriza from Greece. And if it happens, are you ready to support Mr. Timmermans for Spitzenkandidat and for lead candidate? Thank you.
Well, for the moment, the EPP is with around 26, what were the latest figures? 26 seats ahead as the biggest political family in the next European Parliament. That answers the question on Fidesz. So the EPP is the strongest political family in the European Parliament, in the upcoming Parliament. And that's why, for us, it's a key question to join again those who really believe in the future of the European Union.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mr. Weber. Good, and now we move to the Socialists and Democrats group, and the candidate, Mr. Franz Timmermans, will take the floor right now.
Good evening. Let me start with a big shout out to the millions and millions of Europeans who took the trouble in the last couple of days to go out and vote. I think it's a good sign for European democracy that more people turned up than many, many years before. I also believe people understand, and this is also my experience traveling around Europe in the last couple of months, that their lives, their destinies are intimately linked with the choices we make in the European Parliament, in the European Commission and the Council. So here we are. Voters have spoken, citizens have spoken. The result is clear. First of all, let me congratulate those who have won additional seats in this Parliament. Well done. I also have to say that, as you know, and as you will certainly remind me of, my political family has lost seats. We have lost seats, and this means that we have to be humble. We have to be clear what our programme is going to be. But I'm also optimistic. Optimistic on the basis of what I've heard across Europe in the last couple of months. People want us to do something about the climate crisis, urgently. People want us to make sure that social injustice is also tackled at the European level. People want us to make sure that big corporations finally start paying fair taxes. And people want us to make sure that we can work together with fellow Europeans to solve the problems that we can no longer solve only at the national level. That is why I will repeat my proposition to work with other progressive parties in this Parliament to try and build a programme that addresses the aspirations, the dreams, and also sometimes the fears of our fellow Europeans. That we create a platform on the basis of progressive politics, forward-looking, dynamic. Stability is not the first word that comes to mind when I think of Europe. Stability means keeping things as they are. I don't think that's what Europe needs. Europe needs to dynamically look towards the future and take the necessary steps to bring that future closer. This is what we need to do. This is what people ask of us. And if we deliver on these points, then we can show that progressive, constructive, cooperative politics delivers results and that nationalism only delivers fears and hate. So once again, my offer is on the table. Let's sit together with progressive forces in this Parliament. Let's try and find a programme for the next 5 years that will prepare Europe for the 30 years to come. Thank you very much to everyone who took the trouble to go and vote.
Thank you, and we have time for a couple of questions. If we start with Christoph Schmidt from Trouw.
Good evening, Christoph Schmid from the Dutch newspaper Trouw. Given the fact that both the EPP and the SD lost seats in more or less the same proportion, which is an important signal from the voters, how can you possibly claim or put a bigger claim on the Commission presidency than Mr. Weber?
First of all, I'm not putting any claims at all. You're right to say that these two parties who have always had a majority in the European Parliament, now for the first time, both lost so that we no longer have a majority. But in that sense, the European Parliament is a perfect reflection of what happens in most member states. This is also the situation in most of our member states. It has become more difficult to form coalitions. That's why I think, I'm not claiming anything. I think, if you lose an election, if you lose seats, you have to be modest. But at the same time, you also have to take the responsibility, because we still have more than 150 seats in this Parliament, this new Parliament, that gives us a huge responsibility to do something positive for European society in the next 5 years. And to do that, we will need to build coalitions. And on the basis of a programme and a coalition, then we can start playing the Game of Thrones on who gets which job. But that's the right order. That's why I'm not claiming anything. I hope I can bring together a coalition with a programme we need for the next 5 years. And then we will see who can lead that in the European Commission.
Okay, thank you very much. I have Christoph from the Polish press agency running to the microphone. Thanks.
I think you said that stability is not the first thing which comes in mind when you are thinking about Europe. Does it mean that you are rolling out cooperation with the EPP? Because Mr. Weber just said that this stability is needed here.
Well, my worry is that whenever I hear Weber or the EPP talk of stability, they mean let's keep things how they are. That, I think, if you look at the result of the election, is not an option. So I want to work with parties who understand that we need to make some really bold decisions on the climate crisis, on social injustice, on the need to transform our economy into a sustainable economy, on the need to tax companies that don't pay tax today. And anyone from a democratic party that shares these ideas, I want to talk to and try and build a coalition with. The only ones I've said all along the campaign I don't want to work with is the extreme right. I will never have an agreement with them because we don't share the vision of Europe, and we certainly don't share the vision of humanity and humanism. So I could never enter into an agreement with them. But all the other parties, if they share our vision of a progressive Europe that really needs to take step forward now, I think I will work with.
Okay, and we'll just take one final question from Thomas Meyer from the Standard.
Good evening, Mr. Timmermans. I think apparently you don't like the word claim, but I think there are millions of Europeans tonight who want to know who will be the next president of the Commission. So would you perhaps prefer the sentence that I want to become president of the European Commission? And a second question, if I may, if we look to the figures there, the Rainbow Coalition is apparently very close to a simple majority, which is necessary to vote for the next president in the Parliament. We know that Mr. Macron has doubts on the system of Spitzenkandidates. What would you do in the next days and weeks to convince Mr. Macron and the majority of the head of states who nominate the next president of the Commission? Thank you.
Well, on the first part of your question, Mr. Meyer, I would say, I would wager that the vast majority of European citizens aren't that interested who's going to lead the next Commission, are more interested in what is that Commission going to do, are they finally going to do for us to tackle the climate crisis, to do something about social injustice, etc. And then if you have a good programme, then I think we need to find an agreement who could lead that programme. I would be honoured to lead that programme, but in that order. So, yes, of course, it's interesting to write about this and to talk about this, but frankly, I believe, also after having campaigned in so many member states, that citizens are more interested in what are you actually going to do for us in the next 5 years. And on the second part of your question, we will need a majority in the European Parliament. And if I look at the figures now, I understand why Manfred Weber says stability, because he also sees that there is a possibility of a majority without the EPP. Now, I'm not saying there should, by definition, be a majority without the EPP. I'm only saying, in a democracy, it is healthy that not one party is unavoidable in a majority. So I will be looking for a progressive majority to do the things that our citizens expect from us. And if that is with people who understand which are the subjects we need to tackle, who understand the seriousness of the climate crisis and are prepared to take the necessary measures, I take them from anywhere, except, as I said, from the extreme right. But let's see if we can build a majority on the basis of that programme for the next 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Timmermans. And now, on behalf of the ALDE party, Margrethe Vestager.
Congratulations to each and every one of you who has voted in this election and shown the European support for having a European democracy. This is a landmark. More than 50%. Not for decades have we seen such a turnout. And that, I think, is for everyone, no matter where you are in this election, no matter your party results, but to congratulate each other for the turnout. So many distractions on a Sunday, the beach, the couch, fun things to do, and yet more than 50% of Europeans turned out to say, we live in a democracy, power is voting, and they did. Thank you very much. And I think this is a signal for change, because you see how the Parliament has changed its composition. This is not anymore just a two-party majority. This is a new Parliament. If you see the wins of the new Liberal group, of La République En Marche, of USR+, c'est magnifique. You see the strength now coming in, and you see the wins of the Greens. That you see that climate change and the consciousness that we need to do something. That is for real. And that is very promising for the new European Parliament. So new coalitions can be built for those who want to embrace change. And obviously, the third important thing to note is that we can show change by having the first gender-balanced commission, because then people can mirror themselves as who we are as Europeans, women and men, making sure that we take action to fight what we don't like and to embrace all the opportunities that comes from living in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And as you all know by now, we have the opportunity to take three questions, and we'll start right here in Brussels with Politico and Maya de la Boom.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mrs. Vestager, given the score tonight, does it give the Liberals a claim for the EU top jobs? And the second question is, how do you see this future progressive majority? And with whom? With the EPP, for example? Thank you.
Well, I think it is obvious. I have worked with breaking monopolies. This is basically what I've been doing for 5 years by now. And this is also what voters have been doing today. The monopoly of power is broken. And this is, of course, why we can do something else. And I very much appreciated what my colleague Frans Timmermans just said, that a coalition can be built of those who want to do something, of those who want to take action progressively to change things. And if you look at the signals coming from Greens saying, well, actually our voters responded, we can do things differently, I think there's room for talks in the coming days that are different from what we saw before, and also for a different composition of leadership in the different institutions. So indeed, yes.
And the second question is from Süddeutsche Zeitung and Caroline Metabeise.
Evening. Most of the other parties have decided who would be the Spitzenkandidat a long time ago, whereas you only claim tonight for the very first time that, yes, you do want to be next Commission President. So I have two questions. The first is, why did you say that to news agencies before and not now on the stage? And the second is, how do you want to convince the other parties who have, like Manfred Weber just did, said to only vote for a Spitzenkandidat who has claimed to be a Spitzenkandidat before the election? So how do you want to convince those parties to give you their voices and votes?
Well, first of all, I find it's very awkward not to answer a question when you're being asked. So this is why I thought it would be awkward to wait till I'm here. And anyway, it was part of the news when I was here the last time with all colleagues in this process to say, well, yes, I am indeed here. Because in my experience, you never get anything if you don't ask for it. The worst thing that can happen is that you get a no. Of course, it hurts your vanity, but you live. The second thing is that for us, it's important that the two institutions, they co-decide. Because this is also our identity, our directly elected representatives. And as said, the Europeans have come out tonight so strongly for that, but also how we see ourselves as citizens in each and every member state. And for the next 5 years, the Council and the Parliament will have to work together And this is, of course, why it's so important that they also work together in deciding on the leadership of the future. Because then you get a starting point that is promising for getting results in the next 5 years to come. And that balance, reflecting our identity, how Europe has been built, and also a working relationship of the future, that is what has been important for us. And this is why we have engaged so much on substance to get the vote out, to make sure that people see, well, who is who in Brussels is for after the election. Before the election, it's about how to fight climate change, how to get in control of technology, how to create societies where each and every one of us feel counted in, and that has been our proposition in this campaign. And as you see on our numbers, I think this has been heard by a large part of the voters.
Thank you very much. And the third and final question is from the Finnish broadcaster, Ulla. Please.
Thanks, Petri Raivio, Finnish national broadcaster. You seem to be in a pretty good bargaining position when you look at the chart there. What is the number one thing that you want to use that leverage for to advance in your talks or in ALDE's talks with these other parties? Thanks.
Well, the most important thing is change so that we enable us to take action. The Commission that I've been part of has prepared so many things with the Parliament and with Council. The redesign of our energy market being ready to be implemented to enable us to deal a lot more efficiently with climate change issues. What has now been passed and proposed to deal with technology is work in progress, but pushing there. And of course, when it comes to tax justice, that I think is a very important point, to make sure that all the many businesses who pay their taxes, they see that also those who don't pay today, they are part of contributing to the societies where they do a very good business. So I think on substance, we have a number of things that will enable a broad coalition, not in every detail for the next 5 years, but on some of the fundamentals, and that, of course, including rule of law, freedom of the press, gender equality, and equality as such.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and now will be time for the Greens party. In this case, with the two candidates, Ska Keller and Bas Eickhout. Please be aware that we are updating right now our provisional results. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good evening, or good night it is by now. First of all, from our side, we want to thank all the voters coming out, but especially, of course, the voters who are very clearly asking for change for a new Europe, a Europe that is fighting climate change, a Europe that is looking for a green transition in a socially just way, and a Europe that is fighting for the rule of law and fighting to uphold the democracies in all the member states. And that is a Europe that has been voted for, and where we as Greens have been performed even better than the polls have predicted. And that is really something that we are very thankful for, very grateful, and we see it also as a very important responsibility to deliver on that in the coming 5 years.
Thank you. And this responsibility that is something that we want to carry through in every action that we do in the European Parliament. We have been campaigning on climate protection, on biodiversity protection, but also on a social Europe and making sure that civil liberties are being upheld all over the European Union, also in countries such as Hungary. And this is something that we want to do and put now into practice in the European Parliament. The European Parliament is the place to, for example, work on climate protection, because climate does not stop at the borders. And we have seen that this is a great concern for citizens all over the European Union. So we will not, in this Parliament, get around that issue. As Greens, we certainly don't want to get around this issue, but it's also clearly a call to other parties and groups to take that issue seriously and not anymore obstruct votes on climate justice as they have done in the past 5 years and even before. So for us, it's a very clear task for us to do now in the coming weeks, months and years. And I would just like to join in thanking the Green voters. It's been really amazing also to see that sometimes Greens were maybe not so much predicted to score so well, and maybe other stories have been more interesting, but we see that it works to have a positive vision for the European Union, and that has gained a lot of support. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much. We're just going to open the floor up to 3 questions now. We could start over here with Euronews.
Grégoire Lauré, Euronews. Which issues will you put forward to consider joining a coalition? And second question, will you give your vote only to a Spitzenkandidat, or are you ready to give a vote to someone outside the Spitzenkandidat process? Thank you.
Well, first of all, what we will see now for the first time is that there will be really negotiations on the program for a new European Commission. And we have been campaigning the entire months that we have done. We have been campaigning on climate action, social justice and democracy. So those 3 topics will also be at the negotiation table from a Green perspective. And we will make our demands there, and we will make very clear that any new President of the Commission needs to come very clear on these topics and deliver change. And then on your second question on the Spitzenkandidaten, it is very clear. This is important to improve democracy. If you see the higher turnout is also a higher turnout for the European Parliament, making very clear that what we are delivering is a new European Commission and a new President. And so from our perspective, we will go for people that were already in the race before the elections, that they are also after the elections, and we will support only those candidates that have been running during the campaign.
We've got time for 2 more open questions. If you'd like to ask a question, please come up to the mic. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Voilà, et maintenant, ça va être le moment où nous allons l'opportunité d'écouter la réaction de M. Nico Coué, qui est le candidat de la gauche unitaire.
Bonsoir. D'abord, vous remercier d'être là dans des heures aussi tardives et donc vous dire que nous sommes assez heureux de voir la participation qu'il y a eu lors de ces élections. Cette participation nous rassure, c'est-à-dire que l'Europe a encore un certain nombre d'avenirs, un certain nombre de sujets pour lesquels les citoyens européens se sont intéressés. Et puis dire aussi que c'est peut-être la première fois qu'un Parlement est aussi éclaté au niveau européen, puisque des majorités qui se sont répétées pendant beaucoup d'années ne sont plus présentes. Et donc nous, ce qu'on souhaite, c'est évidemment pouvoir discuter avec l'ensemble des forces politiques européennes pour essayer d'avoir un programme qui change un petit peu cette Europe et qui permette à l'ensemble des citoyens de se retrouver un peu plus dans cette grande institution. Nous n'avons pas eu les résultats espérés non plus. Et donc, nous allons essayer de voir si l'ensemble de ce que l'on a proposé, c'est-à-dire un plus grand renforcement de la lutte contre le réchauffement climatique et surtout les questions sociales, d'essayer de mieux les faire passer auprès des citoyens européens et donc de continuer notre travail pour que cette Europe soit une Europe sociale et une Europe qui s'attaque de manière lourde à la question du réchauffement climatique. Donc voilà, nous n'allons pas être beaucoup plus longs, nous allons continuer notre travail, nous allons être très attentifs aux majorités qui vont se dégager à l'intérieur du Parlement et comme les parlementaires du Parti de la gauche européenne l'ont fait ces 5 dernières années, continuer à contribuer à une Europe plus sociale. Je suis disposé à répondre à vos questions.
I'm now ready to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Nico. Un grand merci. If there are questions, could people step up to the microphones? Yeah.
Et là-bas? Oui.
Yes, please. Yeah. Step up to the microphone. Thanks.
Hello, Catherine Pure, EU reporter. Monsieur Coué, you've lost a number of seats, and I appreciate that that's disappointing, but will you be throwing your weight behind a progressive alliance, and what will your conditions be to be part of that alliance? Thank you.
Je crois que j'ai entendu ce soir un certain nombre de mains qui se tendaient. Je pense que je viens de le dire il y a quelques minutes. Nous regarderons tous les programmes qui vont être mis en place et qui correspondront à cette alliance progressiste. Je pense très sincèrement qu'il y a 3 éléments auxquels on devrait tenir compte. C'est essayer d'avoir un peu plus de démocratie dans l'ensemble des institutions européennes. Le deuxième point, c'est pour finir, on arrive à faire une vraie Europe sociale et qu'on ne soit pas simplement avec des propositions qui ne soient pas contraignantes. Et puis, je crois qu'on a un certain nombre de propositions et de contributions à faire sur la question du changement de l'outil de production en Europe et dans l'ensemble de la planète. Et donc, sur ce terrain-là, on est prêt à discuter avec tous ceux qui feront des propositions concrètes et nous verrons où nous arriverons au bout de cette discussion.
Proposals are put forward and we get somewhere.
Merci.
Okay, any further questions? Just step up to the microphones. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nico.
Merci et bonne fin de soirée.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Merci.
Donc voilà, ça c'était le tour de réaction des candidats à la présidence de la Commission européenne. On est en train d'arriver petit à petit à la fin de cette soirée électorale. Nous allons continuer à montrer les updates des résultats encore, je dirais, pour 1 heure, 1 heure et demie, jusqu'à 2 heures du matin, où on aura les dernières updates de cette nuit. Après, on recommencera probablement vers 9h30, 10h demain matin, quand de nouveaux résultats seront aussi à notre disposition. Je voulais aussi signaler, je crois que c'est important, que mardi prochain, mardi 28 à 10h du matin, la conférence des présidents du Parlement européen va se réunir pour une première évaluation des résultats et bien sûr aussi pour commencer à regarder qu'est-ce que les groupes politiques souhaitent faire en termes de possibles coalitions pour la présentation d'une candidature à la présidence de la Commission. Cette réunion aura lieu donc mardi matin à 10h, le même jour où le soir il y aura la réunion informelle du Conseil européen. Je tiens à vous remercier, c'est la 3e fois que je dois faire cet exercice, la première fois avec une certaine dégression dans le nombre de votants. la deuxième fois il y a 5 ans quand on a plus ou moins stabilisé les résultats et cette fois-ci avec cette, disons, bonne nouvelle de la hausse de la participation au-delà des 50%. Je voudrais remercier tous les collègues qui ont travaillé avec nous depuis des semaines et des semaines, tous les techniciens que vous ne voyez pas, les interprètes, les gens qui sont autour de cet exercice compliqué, complexe, mais très intéressant et surtout, je dirais, très énergisant parce que c'est quand même une façon de donner visibilité à la démocratie européenne ici dans le cœur de cette démocratie qui est l'hémicycle du Parlement européen. Merci beaucoup de votre présence. On a très bien travaillé avec vous. On va continuer, bien sûr, à le faire dans les heures qui viennent, dans les jours qui viennent et aussi pour toute la législature. Et surtout, bonne nuit.
majority of the seats in the European Parliament, but there was also a stronger say on for liberal parties, and that indeed gives us a clear
Allora, buonasera. Buonasera a tutti, intervengo adesso nonostante la prudenza. Intervengo adesso perché domani ci sono degli italiani che devono andare a lavorare, quindi ci tengo da primo partito di questo Paese a ringraziare. A urne chiuse finalmente si può ringraziare a cuore aperto senza essere accusati di voler strumentalizzare. Quindi come l'ho fatto perché ci credevo e ci credo e ci credevo prima del voto e ci credo da domani in avanti, ringrazio chi c'è lassù e non aiuta Matteo Salvini o la Lega, aiuta l'Italia e l'Europa a ritrovare speranza, orgoglio, radici, lavoro, sicurezza, e quindi io non ho mai affidato al cuore immacolato di Maria un voto o il successo di un partito, ma il futuro e il destino di un paese e di un continente. I dati ci danno ragione, la festa dura pochi minuti perché è il momento della responsabilità. Milioni di italiani ci hanno affidato una missione storica, riportare al centro del dibattito europeo il diritto al lavoro, il diritto alla salute, il diritto alla vita, il diritto delle famiglie a mettere al mondo dei figli, il diritto dei ragazzi a sperare in un lavoro stabile. È un successo incredibile non solo quello della Lega in Italia. Solo 5 anni fa i giornali parlavano di una Lega in via di estinzione, adesso siamo primo partito a nord e a sud. Abbiamo percentuali sopra il 50% in tantissime città e siamo anche primo partito in tante città del centro e del sud e ci metterò ancora più energia, ancora più passione, ancora più impegno. Non solo la Lega è primo partito in Italia, Marine Le Pen è primo partito in Europa, in Francia, Nigel Farage è primo partito in Gran Bretagna, quindi Italia, Francia, Inghilterra. È il segno di un'Europa che cambia, si è stufata dell'Europa serva dei poteri forti, delle elite, della finanza, delle multinazionali e quindi da domani il nostro lavoro raddoppia. Il tempo del festeggiamento è poco, è quasi finito, dura lo spazio di una serata. Ringrazio gli italiani che ci hanno sostenuti contro tutto e tutti. È stata una campagna elettorale che io come segretario della Lega e come ministro dell'Interno ho vissuto con passione, con orgoglio, con attacchi quotidiani e vergognosi, però la vita reale è più forte degli attacchi virtuali, quindi usiamo questi consensi non per regolamenti di conti interni. Il mio avversario era e rimane la sinistra, che ha governato male in Italia, in Europa. Gli alleati di governo per me sono amici, con cui da domani si torna a lavorare serenamente, abbassando i toni. Io non ho mai risposto nelle ultime settimane agli attacchi e quindi conto di riprendere in mano domani mattina il contratto di governo e applicare tutti i temi che sono rimasti in sospeso, la riduzione delle tasse, l'autonomia, il decreto sicurezza, le grandi opere bloccate, il decreto sblocca cantieri, il decreto crescita, il sostegno ai disabili, il sostegno alle famiglie. Sarà un periodo economico complicato, lo dico agli italiani, e quindi siamo perfettamente consapevoli delle difficoltà che ci aspettano. Siamo primo partito di un grande paese e vedremo di far valere in Europa le ragioni di questo grande paese, le ragioni degli imprenditori italiani, degli operai italiani, dei medici italiani, degli agricoltori italiani, riportando in Europa il diritto al lavoro, il diritto alla vita, il diritto alla sicurezza, ma anche i valori, i principi. Qualcuno ha negato le radici giudaico-cristiane dell'Europa, io sono stato sbeffeggiato perché ieri, oggi e domani proverò a testimoniare col lavoro, con gli atti e con le opere una fede in un futuro migliore rispetto a quello che i burocrati e i banchieri europei ci hanno preparato. Quindi sono felice, poi non so se il risultato finale della Lega sarà il 30, il 29, il 31, il 28, il 32. Noi partiamo dal 6% di 5 anni fa e dal 17% degli anni scorsi. Si costruisce, e ripeto, ogni singolo voto che le italiane e gli italiani ci hanno dato da nord a sud non verrà da me usato per chiedere mezza poltrona in più in Italia. Verrà da noi usato per provare a cambiare e a salvare l'Europa. È chiaro che le regole europee vanno cambiate, i vincoli europei vanno cambiati, l'austerità, la precarietà, la disoccupazione elevata a livello di vita per i nostri ragazzi non possono più avere un senso, e quindi conto di avere alleati in Francia, in Germania, in Austria, in Olanda, in Belgio, in Gran Bretagna, in Svezia, in Finlandia, per un futuro fondato sul lavoro, sui diritti, sulla speranza, sulla salute. Guarderemo poi i dati delle elezioni comunali. Io domani sarò in ufficio al Ministero dell'Interno. Ringrazio tutti i presidenti di seggio, tutti gli scrutatori, tutti i rappresentanti di lista, tutte le donne e gli uomini delle forze dell'ordine che hanno garantito una competizione sana, corretta, leale, partecipata. Ci saranno tanti comuni che andranno al ballottaggio dove da sempre governava la sinistra e finalmente dopo decenni c'è una possibilità di cambiamento. Attendo con ansia anche i dati dalla Regione Piemonte e ripeto, se la Lega andrà al governo della Regione Piemonte è chiaro che sarà un messaggio a favore della prosecuzione e della conclusione delle grandi opere. Abbiamo chiesto un voto degli italiani per i sì al lavoro, per il sì alla riduzione delle tasse, per il sì alla riforma della giustizia, per il sì alla riforma della scuola, per il sì alla riforma fiscale, quindi questi milioni di voti che mi ripagano di mesi di impegno, di fatica, di passione, di sacrifici, di minacce, di oltraggi, di bugie, di denunce, di processi, mi danno una forza incredibile, quindi ringrazio gli italiani che mi hanno dato fiducia e ringrazio gli italiani anche che hanno votato per tutti gli altri e conto di riuscire a parlare anche alle italiane e agli italiani che non hanno votato, perché quando 4 cittadini su 10 scelgono di non scegliere, evidentemente tutti devono fare qualcosa di più e qualcosa di meglio. Quindi per quello che riguarda me, i ministri della Lega, i parlamentari della Lega, i governatori della Lega, i sindaci della Lega, domani mattina siamo in ufficio. Poi intanto permettetemi, dopo settimane e mesi di battaglia complicata, ad armi impari, mi permetto di dire senza dolermene, senza fare come si dice a Milano il piangina, ad armi impari, contro quasi tutto e tutti, l'unica parola che mi sento di lasciare all'etere questa notte è grazie. Grazie perché ha avuto fiducia e useremo al meglio questa fiducia. Ripeto, non per regolamenti di conti interni, questa è una politica vecchia, provinciale superata, io non chiedo mezza poltrona in più, mezzo ministro in più, mezzo sottosegretario o presidente in più, chiedo solo un'accelerazione sull'attuazione del programma di governo. Meno tasse, quindi è ovvio che nessuno aumenterà l'IVA, nessuna patrimoniale sulla casa, sui conti correnti. Il voto di oggi ci dice che cambiano le regole dell'Europa, non solo per scelta degli italiani, ma per scelta dei francesi, per scelta dei tedeschi, per scelta degli inglesi, per scelta degli ungheresi, per scelta dei polacchi, per scelta dei finlandesi, per scelta degli svedesi, dei danesi, e quindi è nata una nuova Europa. E lo dico a quelli che hanno affossato il sogno europeo trasformandolo in un incubo, sono orgoglioso che sia la Lega a essere partecipe di questo nuovo rinascimento europeo, fondato sul lavoro, sulla libertà, sui popoli, sui diritti. Adesso torno in ufficio a guardare i voti reali, però ogni singolo consenso di ogni donna e di ogni uomo, da nord a sud, sono per me la conferma che abbiamo governato bene in questi mesi e abbiamo il dovere di governare ancora meglio nei prossimi mesi. Per quello che mi riguarda, a livello nazionale non cambia nulla. La mia parola vale più dei sondaggi, vale più dei voti. Il mio avversario non ce l'avevo in casa, ma il mio avversario è il Partito Democratico che ha mal governato comuni, province, regioni ed Europa, e quindi il mio obiettivo è di continuare a dare un buon governo agli italiani, anche perché penso e spero che la somma dei due partiti al governo da un anno superi ancora il 50%, e quindi questo ci dà la forza, la voglia e l'entusiasmo di andare avanti. Quindi ci tenevo a dare queste mie emozioni, sensazioni, gratitudini e ringraziamenti prima della 1 di notte e adesso auguro a tutti voi buon lavoro, torno in ufficio e domani sono al Ministero dell'Interno a garantire la sicurezza di questo splendido Paese che oggi ha dato una dimostrazione di orgoglio, di dignità e di voglia di futuro in cui io ho sempre creduto e quindi ringrazio i milioni di italiani che ci hanno e mi hanno dato questa forza. Grazie mille.